I think that a major unmet need for mantle cell lymphoma is how we manage these higher risk patients when they present to us in that fashion. So what does it mean for a mantle cell patient walking in my door with proliferative TP53 mutated mantle cell lymphoma? I mean, we know that chemotherapy now is, based on the data from the European Mantle Cell Group, high-dose chemotherapy and transplants not really likely to provide much benefit for that group of patients. You know, Revlimid, I should say, lenalidomide and rituximab may have some activity just by virtue of being a little bit more TP53 independent, but when they're very proliferative, it's very hard to get a patient, you know, through that 2 or 3 month course that's needed to you know, realize that that benefit. And so we still have this population of mantle cell lymphoma that's begging for something. We've tried ibrutinib, at least in relapse cases. We know single agent ibrutinib is not very effective in managing this group of patients. We know that Rituxan adds a little bit, but still most if not all the patients progress by 6 months. We have emerging data on the Simpatico trial. We have an ibrutinib venetoclax trial and another ibrutinib Rituxan venetoclax trial that are ongoing in newly diagnosed mantle cell lymphoma patients, and it'll be very intriguing to see whether there is a benefit for those who have TP53 mutation, particularly if they have proliferative disease with that TP53 mutation. You know, if we can find a benefit there, then that may help to address this, again, very significant unmet medical need. You know, my own anecdotal observations are that it's unlikely that a BTK is going to be effective in the frontline setting, even in combination with venetoclax, for these very high-risk patients. And so I think what this really then says is, well, what do we do with the ibrutinib? You know, again, even if we bring it frontline, you know, if we can get a transient response, are we now in a position where we say the next step is CAR T-cell consolidation based on some of these data that were presented, you know, as part of the ZUMA-2 trial, and hopefully as a step forward from, you know, what I hope will be an FDA approval. You know, that's a big question. Alternatively, you could say it's allogeneic stem cell transplant. And again, we don't have a lot of data for allogeneic stem cell transplant, in large part because, you know, allogeneic transplant for lymphoma is not something that's routinely embraced by the Medicare guidelines. Right? And so median age of mantle cell is 68. Most of our patients will be you know, on Medicare. And so it makes it very hard to really ask and answer questions about the impact of allotransplant in this particular population, let alone the safety of doing reduced intensity transplants and the like. And you know, for this group of people, a major unmet medical need for mantle cell lymphoma remains what to do for those who present with very high risk disease up front. A second major unmet medical need is what to do for those patients who relapse after CAR T. And you know, it's not just diffuse large B cell now. If we're talking about bringing a CAR T cell therapy for patients with mantle cell lymphoma, you know, yes, I'm absolutely excited by the 60% you know, event-free survival at 2 years. That to me is phenomenal, but that still means that 40% are progressing. And so we need to understand what to do for those individuals. Is it going to be coming in with an alternative form of immune therapy, like an allogeneic CAR T-cell therapy or a lenalidomide or something something along those lines? Are we going to see something like we see with the PD-1s, where you treat with a high potency immune therapy, and for reasons that are less clear, you sensitize them to subsequent chemotherapy after the fact? I think that these are all unanswered questions, but you know, this for me is the other major unmet medical need in mantle cell lymphoma.